Daphne Clifton. Thanks so much for joining this webinar. To introduce myself briefly, I started my career with a short spell in the Navy and then spent over 20 years in media sales and marketing, managing teams and latterly as Senior Vice President of Sales. For the past 10 years, I've been running my own business, coaching and training individuals and teams to achieve their full potential. One of the key things people ask me to coach them around is their time management, because work and life collide all the time, and that's stressful. I wonder what area of time management you want to focus on today. Whatever it is, I'm going to offer you some facts around time and changes you can make to improve your time management. Feel free to make notes, but you can also email me for a copy of the slides at daphne@cliftonconsulting.com. So let's get going. We're going to be looking at 10 facts about time. For each one, I'll suggest some top tips or actions that you can take. Think about which ones resonate with you the most. They will be the best place to start when it comes to improving your time management. You will have to make some changes to make those improvements, because the truth is, if you don't change anything, nothing will change. The first fact about time is that we all have the same amount of hours per week, 168 hours, and it's up to us to choose how we spend that time. The game of life is to steal time from one another. That may not be intentional, but it happens. For example, if I ask you to do something for me that will take 2 hours, I now have 170 hours and you have 166. I win. The first thing to do here is to think about your time robbers. Some of the things robbing you of your time will be people, some will be certain tasks, and some will be things that you do to slow yourself down. This is the time to be honest with yourself. You have to take responsibility for your own time. No one else will. They are your 168 hours, and others are trying to steal them, whether they mean it or not. I'm not a mind reader, but I guess some or all of these are your time robbers. Not planning your day, procrastination, emails, phone calls, meetings, doing favours for other people. While thinking about your time robbers, you'll notice that some of them are internally imposed, things that you can control, like procrastination and not planning your day. Others are externally imposed, such as emails and phone calls. The ones you are most likely to be able to change are the ones you are in control of. When this webinar is over, I recommend you make a list of all your time robbers, categorising them as internally or externally imposed. Then decide which are the big ones that you want to address and make some changes. Remember, unless you change something, nothing will change. The first fact that you now understand is that we all have 168 hours a week. Secondly, research shows you can increase personal productivity by up to 20% when you improve your personal time management. That's one whole day in the working week. Thinking about your internally imposed time robbers, which one of those, when you stop doing it, will give you that extra time? Perhaps if you're working from home, you need to be more disciplined about your office hours. Do you need to reintroduce your daily to-do list? The third fact is that most people don't understand where time goes. Start to notice what you're spending your time on. There are some really visual ways to do this. You can colour code your Outlook calendar. I have all my coaching appointments in turquoise, my personal activity is in green, business meetings are in blue. At a single glance, I can see where I'm spending my time and, most importantly, the work which is generating revenue. Alternatively, you can spend 10 minutes each Friday afternoon reviewing your week. Which meetings weren't you really needed at? Can you take future meetings out of the diary? And finally, if you're really stuck and you seriously don't know where your time goes, email me for a time log. It's a tool to raise your awareness of time and where it goes each day. Planning your time realistically can be a real challenge. Our fourth fact about time is that most of us underestimate how long a task will take by about 50%. Here are some tips. If you think it's going to take an hour, make a date in your diary for an hour and a half. Think about who or what will interrupt you and how you can protect that time for yourself. Managing others' expectations of your availability is very important. Let your peer group know your priorities. To cheer you up a bit, the converse of this can be true. There's a job you've been putting off for ages, and when you actually knuckle down to it, it takes half the time you expected. Enjoy that moment and use the rest of the time wisely. So our fifth fact is that we leave the tasks we least enjoy to last. When you have a large job to tackle, you put it off. The way to handle this is to chunk it down into smaller elements. Do you remember that kid's riddle, how do you eat an elephant? A chunk at a time. Well, apply that to tasks you don't enjoy. If it's preparing a board report, write down the elements involved, such as collecting the information from each department, research X, Y or Z, talk to so-and-so about their figures, find the template, draft the summary points, write the presentation. You can work out how long each element will take and diarise them with your deadline in mind. Most importantly, give yourself rewards for a job completed. I love making my business phone calls and often have to reward myself with them. I won't make calls until I've sent that information to my accountant. What will your reward be? To recap so far, we all have the same 168 hours each week. We have to take responsibility for our own time. Time can fly by unnoticed, and we usually underestimate how long something will take to do. Chunk down large tasks into manageable, measurable pieces. There are internally and externally imposed time robbers. Tackle the internally imposed ones first, as you have the most control over them. With me so far? Don't forget, you can email me for these notes and a time log if you'd like. My address is daphne@cliftonconsulting.com. Let's crack on with the next 5 facts about time and some top tips. Fact 6 is that we all have different daily rhythms. Mostly they go unnoticed as we're used to turning up at work on time and leaving when we finished. What I'm asking you to do here is respect your daily rhythms when it comes to your time management. If you're not an early bird, do your boring tasks first thing in the morning. You may choose to write that board report later in the day when your brain is firing on all 4 cylinders. Of course, you have to adapt to your working environment, but always be thinking about the things you can control and plan accordingly. Sadly, most offices don't cater for afternoon naps. If you're an expert power napper, I recommend making that part of your routine, as long as you let others know what you're up to. That's easier if you work from home or on the road, but certainly possible in an office. I've been known to put my head down in a private boardroom for a 5-minute power nap to refresh myself. Moving on to fact 7. Between 2 and 4 p.m. is the least productive time of day. How true is that for you? Make sure the tasks that you are doing suit that 2 to 4 p.m. slot. Could you do your filing, your phone calls, perhaps working together on a project or task with another colleague? You're also a human being. You can't function for 8 hours a day without stopping. Take regular, short breaks to get away from your desk and clear your mind. I'd like to take a moment to tell you about Lars and Sven. They used to chop wood for a living. Every day, 9 to 5, they went off to chop wood. They worked quite differently. Each hour, Lars would stop and take a break for 10 minutes. This really annoyed Sven, who chopped wood non-stop all day. At the end of the day, they were comparing their day's work and the piles of logs that they'd created. Sven looked over to Lars's pile of logs, which was larger than his. "How come you've chopped more wood than me? You stop every hour for 10 minutes. I work all day, dedicated to the job, don't stop for lunch, I'm properly committed, and yet you've chopped more wood than me." "Ah, that's easy," said Lars. "When I stop, I sharpen my axe." The moral of the story is obvious. You need to sharpen your axe during the day. Take breaks to stay fresh and productive. Remember earlier I said that you can improve productivity by 20% when you improve your time management. Perhaps taking breaks for a walk around the block or to eat your lunch away from your desk is the place to start. I once worked with a sales team on their time management. The usual working practices had crept in. Eating lunch at the desk, no breaks, working late. That looks impressive, but there was no axe sharpening going on. Their sales manager agreed with the team that they would each have a break at lunchtime and leave their desks. It was a brave move on the manager's part, but one that paid off. The next week, they had their best sales numbers ever. The 8th fact about time is that creating goals will help you to focus on managing your time. I don't mean lifelong goals here. This is about managing your time on a day-to-day basis. It's easy to say, "Oh, there aren't enough hours in the day, I need more time." But exactly how much more time do you need? Decide how many more hours per week you'd like and what you will do with them. There's a lot of technology around time management. I wonder if there's a way you could use it to your advantage. Perhaps you could ask for some help with using Outlook. Much of it's intuitive, but I often find people with little tricks of the trade that help speed things up. Who do you know who's great at time management? What can you learn from them? When you set out your goals, you will be able to make sure that what you're doing will take you towards that goal. So that favour a friend asks you, if you have the time and it takes you towards your goal, why not do it? One of the questions to ask yourself regularly during the course of your day is what I'm doing taking me towards my goal? My question to you is, if it's not, why on earth are you doing it? Have you ever noticed how busy people are asked to do more? This is the 9th fact. Busy people are often great at time management and organisation. They make it work, even if it's at a personal cost to themselves. Part of your skill with time management is to know what's going on around you. To manage something is to be in control of it. I want to highlight the doing favours for people thing, as it's a common problem. Generally, we all want to be helpful and say yes. Those asking favours make them sound like a 2-minute job. And when you say yes and an hour later you're still trying to finish the job and do the favour for them, who's the one with the time pressures? You are. Now is the time to learn to say no nicely. "I'm really sorry, Jane. I'm up to my eyes today. Happy to look at it with you tomorrow," as long as you are happy to. Or, "I'd love to help, but really can't this week." Don't make excuses for yourself. It's your time. It's your 168 hours being taken from you. The last fact today is about valuing your time. When you put a value on your time, others will too. Let people know that value so they can respect it. For example, I don't work on Sundays. Those I have worked with over the years know and respect that. The one time my boss asked me to represent the company on a Sunday, he called me personally. As it was a football match and I could go to church first, I was able to be flexible. Everyone was happy. The point is, you need to decide what your time boundaries are and learn to stick to them. Many of the clients I work with give a lot of time to charity, which is great. It's not great when they say yes to everything. Even if it feels good, it's at the expense of their business. If you're giving 2 days a month to charity, and that's the equivalent of, say, £5,000, the question to ask is, would I donate £5,000 to this charity in cash? If the answer is no, why are you giving that time? Putting a value on your time is very important. It'll make it easier for you to make decisions about how you use those 168 hours a week. Let's have a quick review about the 10 facts about time. To make this webinar really work for you, consider these facts and do the following. Carve out an hour to reflect on what we've been through. Write down how much time per week you'd like to buy, and then list your activities internally and externally imposed. That will give you a great starting point to making positive changes. Once you've done that, you can decide what the one thing is that you'll do differently as a result of our time together. I'm only asking you to make one change. Time management is about getting out of bad habits and forming good new ones. Thank you for attending this webinar. Your time is valuable and I really appreciate it. If you'd like one-to-one coaching around your time management, I do a power hour session that will help you kickstart your personal productivity. Working with me is easy. We can meet face-to-face or on the phone. As well as one-to-one coaching, I work with teams on their time management. There are 2 other helpful webinars on having difficult conversations and networking. You can buy these and the Power Hour online at cliftonconsulting.com. And finally, if you'd like a copy of the slides, please do email me at daphne@cliftonconsulting.com. I really hope you found this useful and have some great success improving your time management.